Okay, everybody, we're going to give you a countdown. We are locked and loaded, ready to rock and roll in 3, 2, 1. Blasting off. First race of the day. Welcome back to Murrieta, California.
Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are new here, my name is Dalton, and welcome to my channel. Man, I have a super special one on the agenda for you guys today. So this is Tour de Murrieta. It's an Omnium weekend. For those of you who are not familiar, Omnium weekends are basically where it's multiple stages. Tour de Murrieta is 2 stages here in SoCal. The first stage is a Criterium. Second stage is a circuit race, which is actually pretty much a road race. It's about 40 miles for the Cat 4-5 field. Speaking of, this is the Cat 4-5 field. This is the Cat 4 Crit Stage 1. I will be breaking down both this and Stage 2. Now, keep in mind, like I said many times before, I'm a Cat 4. I'm here just to sort of talk you through how my race developed and the things that I was thinking, sort of what my plans were, and then whether or not that worked out. I'm not really here to tell you, hey, this is how you should or should not race. So if you want that, there are plenty of channels out there with people much more experienced than me where you can go kind of see how their races play out, and ideally they can give you a little bit more information. Now, another thing to note is these 2 stages come with points attached. The points are basically based on how well you finish on each stage. So stage 1, I believe 30 points went to first, and then the top 20 places that finish in the crit are scored. Same thing with stage 2, top 20 places are scored. First place gets 30 points and it trickles down from there. Something important to note, and I really love this, shout out to the race organizers for making it super interesting and making these races dynamic. They actually put points preems in the middle of the race. So mid-race, they would shake the bell, they'd throw up the points preem sign, and we were actually sprinting for Omnium points, which contributes to the overall standing. Now, of course, my team, I ride for SDBC, we came in here and we wanted to win Omnium, man. So just talk you through the plan. You can see right now I'm jumping in this early move. Typically, this is not going to stick, especially not on a course like this, but I don't want you guys to think that I was just going out here riding like a maniac for absolutely no reason. Our team had talked about this early on, and I was sort of the guy that was going to cover stuff. I was going to stay in all the moves, and then at the end, if I was too dead to sprint, then I would basically be one of our lead-out men. So we had 2 other guys in this field that we had sort of marked to basically sprint if I ended up cooking myself. Shout out to both of them. And so, as you can see, I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm jumping in the early move. Now, this had a decent makeup. I know these riders are strong, and funny enough, the rider that's on the front here pulling is actually the guy who ends up winning the race. Spoiler alert. But long story short, this break goes for a little bit. It's early on. I thought we were going to get a good rotation here. So the CFT rider in front of me, he pulls through nicely, and then he flicks, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I come underneath him, no problem. I thought the Swifty was on my wheel. He was not. I looked back, and I realized we had a couple of other guys bridging across. Not a big deal. A couple more guys bridging is fine, but then I heard one of the guys say that we were caught. So I look back again, and I see that the field's kind of closing the door. They're a little bit strung out. And anytime that happens early in a race like this, I'm not going to commit a lot of energy to this break, especially when it's not working smoothly already. If we didn't immediately fall into rotation, my thoughts in my head are that, you know, we're not going to rotate together for 30 more minutes unless we can fall in line. But it's a little too late here, and the field has basically shut this thing down. So without further ado, let's dive into a little bit more of the interesting stuff in this race. As you can see here, I'm moving to the left, and I'm trying to get off the front, and immediately a counterattack goes, which is, you know, textbook. It's exactly what I expected. I'm not shocked by this, but these early breaks, I'm really not too concerned that they're going to stick. And then, yeah, let's jump forward and see what we got. So one thing I kind of wanted to talk about here was just, you know, the last couple weeks I've been struggling moving up. I've been scared of crashes, and I've just been like sticking my nose in the wind to stay out of the mess of things. But, you know, today I was finding it a lot easier to move up in certain locations, and you can see that inside of this is one, but also it seemed like people in this 4-5 field were more motivated to move up than a lot of the 4-5 fields this year. So I'm taking a free ride here, passing a ton of people right before we set up for the corner where I can take the inside line, and this is a pretty sketchy cobbled corner where I feel like on the outside, if you got pushed wide, you could end up going into the parking spaces, and it was just super sketchy. I didn't like being outside there. A lot of crashes happened there last year, and basically it would happen on the inside line and then sweep everybody outside. So I wanted to make sure I was taking these inside lines on this course, particularly in those 2 corners. And so the rest of this is just me surfing like the top, 10, 15, 20 wheels of 75, 80 guys deep, making sure I moved up when other people were motivated to move up. And that's pretty much what I did. So real quick, just want to jump forward here. What you'll see is we're actually coming into a points preem lap. I cut out about 10 minutes or so of just basically hanging out where I'm at here, pretty much at the front of the race, but still far enough back to conserve energy and not do anything crazy. Wattage is pretty laid back here, but as you can see, it's strung out because it's a points preem lap. Now, I want these points, so I'm not just going to let this go and sit back here when I can get Omnium points. So I wanted to go for it. I see it slowing up. They had that initial acceleration through the line, but I mean, now we're slowing down to 23 through this section, and for me, that's money. So I cut inside here, come underneath, and I decide that it's time to attack. Now, I'm just going to say it's a little bit early for this, and I was hoping I could kind of get away solo to do it, but a few other guys actually jump across, and you'll see here in a second, they also want the points. So I drill it there, hoping to get some separation. There's a stage 2 rider behind me that comes across, and then I think that a couple of the Velosport kids actually jump across as well. And so I'm driving down this back straight doing 31, not pedaling too hard, just threshold, but I thought we had some initial separation, so I wanted to keep that separation. I wanted to go through these 2 corners first also because I could take a really good line, but watch how this kind of plays out. I come down both this straightaway, come in this next corner, able to carry a lot of speed, and then I even ramp it up a little bit there doing 650 watts, but these dudes, they were fully prepared to absolutely sprint for it, and if you look in my rear cam, you can see I drug everybody with me. So like I said, right on cue, the Velosport kid, he just goes for it. The stage 2 kid jumps around me, and pretty much everybody passes me for this points preem, so my attack was a terrible idea, but I mean, hindsight's 2020, so is what it is. I had to go for it. I was hoping I'd get some separation, and if I stayed separated, then maybe I would, be able to roll the brake for a little bit, but yeah. Didn't get any points for that preem, so that's how the cookie crumbles for that one. But it definitely animates the race. It forced me to attack and make things interesting, but yeah. Let's jump forward again, and I'm actually going to get to a pretty interesting point in the race, and maybe I'll just jump to 5 laps to go, and we'll roll it out from there. So this is actually like 6 laps to go, I think, but as you can see, I'm moving up on the inside here. I'm actually sheltered from the wind, so this is free wheels for me. And right as I do, this kid attacks, which is basically perfect because I don't have to do near the effort I thought I would have to get on him. So I go ahead and follow it. Like I said, I'm following especially these late race moves. And, stage 2 is pretty well represented in this race. They have, I think, 5 or 6 guys deep. So if this kid's going to go, maybe it's the late move flyer, right? So yeah, actually 4 laps to go. So here we come. 4 laps to go. I followed that attack. The guy on my wheel here, actually, yeah, I know him. That's Tyler. Dude is a monstrous sprinter. I know he's super strong. And so I say there's no gap there. This is where stuff gets really interesting. I'm on the front, and as you can see, I'm pedaling tempo. I'm not doing anything super crazy here. I'm trying to keep it kind of fast because we are at 4 to go. And keep in mind, I still think I have 2 sprinters that are hanging out in this group. So I'm keeping it quick, 26 miles an hour through here. And I come around, and at this corner, it's really interesting. Our team director yells at me, and he actually yelled at me to get off the front. Well, I heard that as hold the front. So when I come out of this corner, I hear that, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to wind it up. So as you can see, I dig deep there, and now I'm like pushing 400 watts instead of just pedaling tempo. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll drill it then. So I up the pace here, and I'm like, all right, let's keep it fast, because my assumption is that I have 2 guys sitting there, 15th wheel, ready to sprint. Now, I should have been paying more attention and realized that our one guy had a mechanical early in the race. He didn't end up getting back in the race. So we're already down 1 guy. And then the other teammate that was going to sprint, I noticed here in a minute that he is definitely not in position. So keeping it fast for 4 laps like this by myself ain't going to happen. But I was doing 400 or 500 watts the whole time after I heard my team director yell. So I was just burying myself for what I thought was going to be a sprint. And then I think coming up here in a second, I kind of pop to the side and I take a look and I see no other red anywhere to be found. And I was like, uh-oh. This is about when I realized that I was going to be the guy that had to sprint. So I'm dropping back here, but I don't want to drop back too far because we're coming into 3 to go. And if I lose too many positions in my head, I'm thinking that I'm going to be too far back to even contest this sprint. So I slot in here. I think this is about 10th to 15th wheel somewhere. Now with 3 to go, this is okay for me. At least I'm thinking that. And so I'm happy with this position for now, as long as no trains start really moving up around me. But as you can see, that's starting to happen because the front of the race is not staying fast enough. The guys up there, they don't really want to pull and keep it fast. So all that speed that I had just basically maintained for a lap or so, thrown out the window. We're doing 23, 24 through this section once again, and it's going to start getting a little dicey here. And so I guess it's time to fast forward to the last couple laps because I make a couple fatal mistakes pretty much, even after I realized I was going to be the guy sprinting. Alright, so we're jumping ahead. We're actually coming into 1 to go. Stuff is getting pretty dicey. I'm sitting a little too far back here. That's fine. I see an attack start to go up the left, and this rider is concerning to me. I've seen him basically start brakes. I know he's got a lot of big power for a long time, and I don't want him to go by himself. And if he is going to go by himself and get off the front, coming into 1 to go, I'll take that long flyer with him. So I'm trying to get across to his wheel here, and I'm just kind of dangling. I didn't put in big enough effort early enough. But we're doing 29 into a headwind. So I make the huge mistake of closing that down, and I should have let the front of the group do it. So while it moved me up, you know, when I look back at this, I realized that it was just a bad move. Coming into 1 to go, knowing I'm the guy that needs to sprint now because I don't see my other 2 guys that were basically marked to sprint anywhere to be found. This is a huge problem. Such a huge expenditure of wattage that just didn't need to happen, and I'm going to pay for it. Spoiler alert, definitely going to pay for it. As you can see, the winner, he's sitting on my wheel right here, basically doing nothing. Maybe he had to do some effort to close the gap to me, but he was at the front, so he had the opportunity to respond, and he didn't have to do such a massive effort to close that thing down. So he gets up here, he's right next to me, and as you can see, I do want to commend myself for doing something interesting here. I'm staying not directly on this rider's wheel because I learned my lesson in the Folsom 3-4 that I don't want to get swarmed. So I'm giving myself an out here, and you can see I just drill it right there at that moment because I see 2 trains rolling up on me, and I don't want to basically be boxed in. So I see this PAA rider on my right. He's drilling it up the right side, and I'm actually okay with falling back a few spots here coming into the final 2 corners because the last drag is like 400 plus meters, and I'm hoping to just find a wheel. So realistically, I think I'm sitting okay here, and the 2 Velosport kids that are actually setting each other up to sprint are directly in front of me. So that's the wheel I want anyway, and I'm happy with my positioning. The whole problem is you can see how quickly my wattage drops. I come out of the corner at 900, and realistically, I just had nothing left to sprint. I had done way too much work, way too close to this final sprint, and I'm just getting passed everywhere. However, there are Omnium points on the line, so I've got to give it everything I have here at least, because I need to come across the line top 20. I did do just that. Came across the line 14th. Since there were points for Omnium earlier on, the guy who nabbed that, I think, got 3 points, and he finished a couple slots below me, so it bumped him up. I'm sitting 15th in Omnium going into stage 2. But that's it, guys. That's the race. It was a nasty one, and, well, catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on stage 2 to see how the Omnium shakes out.